You're stealing my shit! You this little bitch, man. I'm gonna fucking trap you, man.
Happy holidays, fellow Amphibia fans. Just a few days ago, I was with my family celebrating Thanksgiving and stuffing my face with all the food I could see. Well, now I finally get to watch Amphibia's Christmas special, Froggy Little Christmas. We got wholesome family time, returning human characters, a song from the legendary Rebecca Sugar, and of course, King Andrias going about a new way to destroy Anne. Let's jump into this breakdown like a little kid jumping into a pile of snow. I couldn't think of a more witty analogy, I apologize. Just like Amphibia's Halloween special, The Shut-In, Froggy Little Christmas spices up the theme song with various Christmas decorations as well as a bit of a sleigh bell remix for the song itself. Wreaths and gift wrap on city buildings, Santa Claus flying over Los Angeles, the construction worker outside Anne's house with a jackhammer wearing a Santa hat coupled with the house completely decorated with Christmas goodies, and I can't forget Anne's calamity form changing her hair from all blue to green and pink. Not only do these colors fit well with the theme of Christmas, but they're both Marcy and Sasha's signature calamity colors. I wonder if this small change soft confirmed the exact shades of pink and green their hair will be if they get their calamity powers back. Last but not least, the signature Amphibia logo being wrapped with gift wrap and jingle bells on the edges. The episode opens with Mrs. Boonchoy vibing out to some Christmas music while decorating the interior of the home, putting Domino in a Santa suit, filling up the shelves with snow globes and gingerbread houses, and of course decorating the tree. I love how they used a frog angel instead of a normal one. The planners are very confused by all these activities though, since they've never even heard of Christmas. But before Anne can even explain Christmas to them, they get a phone call from the Christmas Palooza parade, letting the Boonchoys know there was a last-minute opening for a float. Mrs. Boonchoy's dream was to have a tie-go float in the parade, but she's never been able to get in. But to much Anne and her dad's surprise, Mrs. B turns down the offer. Even though she'd love to do a float more than anything, she'd rather play it safe to minimize the chances of the planners being seen by such a large crowd. Although I feel bad that she made that decision, it just goes to show how much she values the planners, damn near as much as she values Anne now. She's giving up one of her biggest dreams to keep them safer. She reassures Anne that it's not that serious because they can still do all the other Christmas traditions like baking cookies, caroling, and a Christmas card picture. Don't get me wrong, Candid is a decent theme. Can it really top the Ungulate theme? I don't know, man. That's hard to top. Cut to Anne taking the planners back to her room where she calls the Christmas Palooza people to turn her mom's no into a yes. Even though her mom said no, she was clearly still upset about having to do so, and Anne could tell. They've already made so many sacrifices for her sake, so now it's time for Anne to return the favor by giving them the float of their dreams. Next, we get a glimpse of what's going on in Amphibia. Oh, look at that little Frobo building a snowman. That's cute. Seems like Newtopia Castle is on the move again, along with the Frobo factory hubs. I guess those can fly now, which makes things a lot easier for Andrias, huh? Triple B comes in dressed as elves to let Andrias know the robot army is nearly complete and ahead of schedule. If you don't remember Triple B, they were the three newts that assisted Marcy and Marcy at the gates. Quite a shame they decided to serve Andrias without ulterior motives of their own like Olivia and Yunnan, but it's likely they didn't have a choice in the matter. They dressed like elves in the spirit of the season, of course. Marcy was the one who told them about Christmas. They even got Andrias a present, which led to a semi-funny but also fairly drawn-out gag of the heavy present being pushed to Andrias across the entire throne room. I gotta respect Andrias for not losing his patience, though. The gift he received was a new drone prototype shaped like a butterfly, staying in the theme of the episode being red and green colored too. Andrias is able to see what it sees through a VR-style headset while controlling its movements with a standard gaming controller. The setup reminds me a lot of Nintendo's Virtual Boy system that released in the mid-90s. Even though it's not ready to be mass-produced without testing, Andrias devises a plan to test it out on Earth and destroy Anne, still keeping his full identity a secret from Earth. Yes, I will take the L about saying Andrias was for sure coming to Earth this episode. I was very sure of myself for several weeks at this point, but it was all for naught. Hey, don't get me wrong, this episode was still very much enjoyable without Andrias physically pulling up though. Back on Earth, us the audience gets to hear Rebecca Sugar's Christmas song, and man was it soothing. Sung by cartoon Rebecca herself. I just assumed it was going to be one of those things where the song would just be played over the episode and not sung by an actual character. But hey, if Amphibia can literally put RuPaul in its universe, then what's stopping them from making a Rebecca Sugar side character? They didn't play the entire song in one scene either, but rather in separate snippets throughout the entire episode, making her character kind of like Sam the Snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm sure there's better comparisons, but that's the first thing that came to mind personally. And the planners are riding through downtown LA in awe over all the Christmas decor. Anne's also got a pretty good idea of how she wants the float to look, but they've got to start actually working on it. Step one is to find some tech experts, and who better to call than Allie and Jess? I don't recall if it was confirmed they were college students and not high school students before this, but the exterior of this building confirms they are community college students. I'm gonna assume BYOD is bring your own drone. Obviously can't have the BYOB acronym in a kid show. Bro, the moment I saw that robot dog, so much nostalgia coursed through my veins. Those RC robot dog commercials were on all the time when I was growing up.
Cookie Cat!
Now we got two nods to Steven Universe in this episode. Allie and Jess attempt to explain the meaning/purpose of Christmas to the planners, which they don't do a super good job at. Sprig ends up being more stressed, feeling like he has to get Anne the perfect gift, while the other two are just as confused as before. Them trying to learn the meaning of Christmas was the purpose of the majority of the planner's screen time for this episode, and they did a good job at having everyone around them explain it so badly that it was always funny each time. Next stop is the Natural History Museum to get some decorations. Thanks to Dr. Jan, Anne was able to get tons of decorations. It was cool seeing Anne visit most of the new human characters she became friends/made alliances with. Sadly, spoiler alert, there was no sign of Terry helping out. I get the position of tech experts was technically already filled, but that doesn't mean Terry couldn't help too. I guess since she just had a lot of screen time last week, they want to spread it out more for other characters, which I can respect. Also, we see Tyler and his husband chilling outside the museum. Very nice. Cool to see Hanukkah getting some representation this episode too. You know, the location in which they appear fit contextually at that. Dr. Jan allows Anne to take whatever she wants pretty much, while the planners attempt to listen to the doctor's history lesson on Christmas, unanimously becoming more confused than ever before. Anne is able to gather everything she needs, much to the planners' horror, so they buy some hot chocolate and head to their next stop. Meanwhile, Andreas' new drone has reached Earth, though he's still having some trouble controlling it properly. Couldn't have crashed through a more perfect billboard, could he? He really went full gamer mode with this thing too, you know, no sleep or blinking for several hours, malding and drinking gamer juice. Just needs to have both feet on his seat perched and then it'll be XQC. The next day we see Anne at the Thai temple, where members of the Thai community are giving her tons of new decorations for the float. But poor Sprig still can't find his perfect gift for Anne. The following day, the family partakes in more Christmas activity like cookie baking. Sprig still struggling to find what he needs. Honestly, that Chickless diorama is sick though. Why not just use that? Christmas Eve hits and the float is finally done. Mrs. Boonchoy was beside herself when she saw how good the float looked. I wish I was as thoughtful as Anne when I was 13. Now it's the night of the parade and the city is ready. Even billboards advertising Christmas movies like A Hunky Lumberjack for Christmas. Very fitting that it's on the Walmart channel, since the real life Hallmark channel was where all the reruns of Christmas movies would play during that time of year. Good times, good times. We got a Santa float at the front, a Construct a Carnivore float behind him, which was the store that Polly got in a fight in and hopped till he dropped, a sombrero float potentially being connected to the restaurant Anne and Sprig ate at in the Sprig's birthday episode, the Thai Go float itself, followed by a float of the Monday Cat, aka Purple Garfield. Hearing Mrs. Boonchoy so happy she was nearly brought to tears because she never felt so involved in the community, it was so sweet. It was always a challenge adapting to America since they moved from Bangkok. Getting the float in the parade and seeing all those people cheer them on makes it feel like she's been fully welcomed. Of course, Anne is able to relate to that at least a bit since she was in Amphibia for 5 months, but I'm sure the stress her parents went through was much greater since it lasted what I assume years. The Holly Jollies won't go without interruption though. Andreas was able to locate Anne and use the drone to control the giant Santa float. So the giant Santa float ended up being the thing chasing Anne in the promo and crushing that car. But Andreas was talking through it, so I guess he was technically there, just not physically, so I wasn't all wrong, right? Right? The robot Santa is formidable, but the gang is able to shake him for a bit until they reach a dead end where Andreas tries to finish them off with one final blast. Thankfully, before he gets it off, they turn the Christmas tree from the float into a giant firecracker, stabbing the Santa in the chest and destroying the drone in the process. All while a remix of Ode to Joy plays. This miracle of a win even makes it snow in Los Angeles. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's actually ash from the explosion. Poor Andreas baby raging over his loss, blaming down the controller, you know, classic gamer attitude. And to rub some salt into the wound is Darcy/The Core, saying that display they witnessed was pathetic and how Andreas shouldn't even call himself a king. Andreas seems hurt by these words, but also says the loss doesn't matter because once the Frobo army is complete, nothing will be able to stop them. Scenes like this make me wonder if Andreas is actually going to get redeemed. Clearly the Core doesn't have much respect for him, you know. This can even be tracked back to how Andreas was responding to it when they talked at the start of Olivia and Yunnan. But can someone like Andreas be redeemed? This guy has tried to kill characters from the main cast several times. I suppose it comes down to learning more about his past, maybe? If Kishimoto can more or less redeem someone like Obito Uchiha, then Matt could technically redeem Andreas if he wanted to. Some super serious stuff would have had to gone down in his past for me to think he's redeemable though. Because as we know him now on the surface, I personally don't think so. The Boonchoys and the planners make it back to their home in one piece, even sharing a laugh at how dangerous the experience they just went through was. Anne is finally able to tell Sprig the true value of Christmas, which is being able to spend time with your loved ones, and all the traditions and presents are just a way to express your appreciation for said loved ones. And it was nice to see Mr. Boonchoy got the perfect Christmas card photo during the chase with Andreas. Funny how he's wearing his signature polo in the photo, but wore a Christmas sweater during the chase itself. Sprig gives Anne another gift, which is a handcrafted figure of her since she's his hero. A tad corny, but sweet nonetheless. Yes, Rebecca, sing us off, let's go! I'm sure before this video even goes up, somebody's gonna upload a compilation of just the scenes of Rebecca Sugar singing from this episode, and I for one can't wait to watch it several times. And this episode couldn't have ended on a sweeter note. We see Anne writing a letter to Sasha and Marcy's families, letting them know that their daughters are still alive, and she promises she'll bring them home safe and sound. And the table pans to 3 different envelopes. One for the Wu family, one for Mr. Waybright, and one for Mrs. Waybright. So I think this pretty much soft confirms that Sasha's parents are no longer together, which honestly explains a lot about the way Sasha acted in her past. Feel feeling as powerless as possible watching her parents split, it makes sense as to why she'd crave control outside of her home, because she had none while there, especially while the divorce was happening. Also, did the Wu family not move yet, like I semi-theorized on? If they did actually move, then how could Anne even know where they live now? Seems more likely they stayed put for the time being. And it's about time Marcy and Sasha's parents finally got some kind of recognition on screen. Feels like this was way overdue, but better late than never. Also, before I forget, Anne gives her mother that blue butterfly that she won at the end of Hopping Mall. I'm so glad that that thing wasn't completely retconned. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other big or small details I might have missed out on from this episode. And what did you think of this episode as a mid-season finale? I'd say it's my second favorite of Amphibia's mid-season finales, with Prison Break being the best. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below. It helps out a ton. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out. Take care. Bye-bye.